Hey everybody, this is Chad from CSRC. Wanted to take a chance today to go over the 136 scale printable pan car I just posted to my cults page this last week. Just wanted to give you guys an overview. Most of the time I try and do a really detailed assembly video. Due to some health reasons, I don't have that kind of time right now. So this is just going to have to be a quick overview to help you guys through the assembly. So to start off, of course, we've got a 3D printed 136 scale pan car chassis. It is very similar to my 124 scale pan car design. That's actually where this came from. I decided I would make it smaller after the 124th car turned out so well. So we're going to walk through this. The body itself is, I've been printing in spiral vase mode. Pull one of these out here in this configuration. So it prints in spiral vase mode with a 0.8 nozzle. If you don't have a 0.8 nozzle, then run it in standard mode with a 0.4 nozzle with 2 walls, 0 infill, and 1 bottom. And it will run perfectly with a 0.4 nozzle. It will be a little more brittle than if you printed it with a 0.8 nozzle. The 0.8 nozzles bodies have turned out really well for me, really stout, and can take some hits for sure. So that's what I've been doing it with. But after you print them out and trim it out along the trim lines, one important thing when you trim it out, you want to leave about 3 millimeters all the way around the bottom, because that's actually part of the body mounting system, is having that little flange on the bottom. So we'll start by how to remove the body on this guy. It's a clip-on body, like similar to a Mini Z. So we pull out the corners by the rear wheels, and it slides back slightly, and then we'll be able to pull the chassis out of the body like such. Now, the body has inserts that need to be put in after it's trimmed out. If you can see there is an insert that gets glued in on each side rail. And as far as placing them in to glue them, they sit right tight against the top of the body and right up against the marker line for the rear wheel well, and that's about perfectly placed for them. Okay, so now that we've gone through that, now we're going to go over a few things that I actually didn't have time to really go over in the listing. We're going to go over the things that we need to build this car right off the bat. So the first thing is bearings. We need the same bearing set as a Kyosho Mini Z. 3x6 here, 3x6 here, a 3x6 on the outside of the wheel, and a 3x6 on the inside of the wheel. So there's 4 bearings in the rear end, and then the front end uses the same bearings as the Mini Z does for the front wheel. So these are 2 millimeter by 6 millimeter by 2.5 millimeters thick, and it takes 4 of those in the front end. So we're needing a total of 8 bearings for this guy. As far as a motor source, they are using the stock motor from the Axial SCX24. I've been running the aftermarket Dynamite brand ones in these pan cars, and they've been working out really good. So we need a motor. As far as springs in the front end, I have been running the Next Racing damper spring set for their Mini Z car. Stock number NX151 is the number we need on that. That gives you 4 different spring rates for the front end, 4 pairs of springs. The thrust bearing, if you want to build a ball diff car, this is the donor thrust bearing. It is linked in the description there. This guy is an FM6-12 is the number of the thrust bearing. As far as the diff balls, I've been just removing the balls from the brass cage that comes with the thrust bearing and running those as the diff balls. Okay, now that we've covered that, the next thing we need to look at is battery. So what I've been running is these 380 milliamp hour 1S Interjects 25Cs off of Amazon. You can get 5 of these for like $19 with a charger shipped to the door. So good price on those. So I've been running those. As far as hardware, okay, for the rear axle, we are going to need a 3mm by 60mm partially threaded bolt and 3mm lock nut for the rear axle. It has to be a partially threaded, so we've got the smooth shank for the bearings to ride on. And it's actually going to get cut down to, I want to say, if memory serves me correctly, it'll be 3 by 58mm or 57mm by the time you cut it down to width. So this is our donor rear axle. Okay, other than that, for the front suspension, we're going to need 2 of these 3/32 by ½ inch long hardened steel dowel pins. These are our front suspension steering knuckle shafts right here that everything rides on. Get that focused. There we go. So as you can see the shaft there, that's what those pins are for. Those are our front spindles. Okay, so we're going to need 2 of those. Now, we're also going to need 2 2mm by 12mm button head screws. These are our front axles. So we'll need a pair of those. Now, we're also going to need a pair of 172 by 3/8 cap screws. We only need 2 of these, but they are crucial as far as where they're being used. This is going to be our pivot for our rear end. There you go. You see the head of him sticking out there. That pivot goes right in that socket there, and that's how our rear end articulates, is right there. So we're going to need 2 of those guys. Now, we're also going to need 4 of these 172 by 3/16 button head screws. I like using those for the linkages there and there. And I also like using them to mount the roll perch to the rear pod there. So that's all the real critical hardware we need for this guy. The rest of it is all self-tapping hardware that I am getting in this kit off of Amazon. And as we can see, all the different sizes there. Mainly, I am using the M1.2 by 5s for the toe link in the front end for the steering. And I am also using the M1.2 by 4s to screw on the front suspension bulkhead here in the front end there. And to bolt the damper plate in place at the rear of the car. So, get this guy back up here. Our damper plate there is bolted in place. And as you can see, the other 172 cap screw is used for the adjustment for our damper plate. Okay? And these damper plates are designed to ride on 1/16 O-rings. So there's a 1/16 O-ring on the top plate and the bottom plate, and that provides our spring tension there. And our damper plate here is actually has a pair of those O-rings sandwiched there, so we can get flex in that damper plate there without it binding. So that's basically how the car works. As you can see, I am running a full-size receiver in there. That is the standard receiver that comes with the Fly Sky FSGT2s. Just taken out of its case, flipped upside down, and hot glued to the top of the servo. And once again, the servo that is used in this car is linked in the description. This car was designed around the dimensions of that servo, so you will need it. Other than that, we'll touch base on tires here. The tires are self-molded pieces. There are mold files included in the files, so you can cast your own tires. I am using 30A, which is a standard 2-part silicone for the front tires, and I am running 15A, which is a softer compound for the rear tires. They work really good on this car. You can also cut your own foams, all sorts of things. But the main thing to take from this is Mini Z tires will not work on this car. These wheels are way too small for Mini Z tires. So if you're going to build one of these, you're going to be looking at finding your own tires or cutting foams to put on them. And that's why I included the molds, so you could cast your own silicones. Because they do work nice. They work great on carpet, and they work acceptable on RCP for sure. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great build, and I really hope you enjoy this little car. It sure was fun designing it, and it's been fun working all the bugs out of it, making it go. I will say this, all of the files are designed to be printed in 0.25 layer heights. Except for the pinion gears. The pinion gears you'll want to print in 0.2 layer heights, but everything else is designed to be printed in 0.25. So, once again, guys, enjoy the build. I hope you guys really enjoy it. I had a blast designing these guys, so I hope that you guys have just as much fun with them. Peace out.